First thing we need to know about working with bullets and numbers is that these are paragraph attributes. In other words, once you create another paragraph, you will actually create either another bullet or another number. For example, right now we have one, two, three, four, five paragraphs. I'm going to do a select all. I'm going to go to type, drop down to bullets and numbers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add numbers. I'm going to start off by adding numbers. All right. So as you can see, I have one, two, three, four, five numbered paragraphs. So if I were to add another, if I put in a paragraph return, I would actually add another number. So I put my cursor right at the end of the third paragraph, or entry number three, bullet number three, paragraph number three. I hit a return, and as you can see, that creates another paragraph, which creates another number. So that's the first thing you want to understand, is that these are paragraph attributes. And that's going to be important for the next thing we're going to talk about after we talk about manipulating the spaces between the bullet or the number. So right now, if you notice, the type is setting at 12 points, and you have this gap right here. But watch what happens when I change it to 8 points. All right, I bring it down to 8 points. And as you notice, I brought it down to 8 points, but the gap still remains. So in other words, it appears that there's a larger gap between the number and the actual listed item. All right, I'll do a Command A, and I'll change it to 20 points. So I'll make it larger. And it appears as though the gap has narrowed, but it's still the same distance because it's a these are set parameters. So what I'm going to do right now is bring it back to 12. And I'm going to show you how you can change the actual spacing between the numbers and the actual list item. So let's say, for example, I still have the text selected. And the way you change the spacing, if I wanted to, say, tighten the space right here at 12 point between the number and the listed item or the paragraph, what I want to do is, of course, do a Command A, select the whole body of text. And then I'm going to go right over here. This is interesting. This is our indents. This is the top first indent here is your left indent. Then this one over here is your right indent, which we're not going to be concerned with. Then this fourth one right here, or I'm sorry, this one right underneath the left indent is your first line indent. And then, of course, this one over here is the last line indent. So we're not going to be concerned with the right indent and the last line indent. We're going to be concerned with these two right here. And as you can see, there's a plus value and then there's a minus value. So let's take a look at this. If I were to take this first line indent, all right, what that means is if you were to give that a positive value, let's say, for example, if I made that 1p6, all right, you'll notice that the first line of every paragraph is going to come in a pike and a half, and then you have the normal indent, which is a pike and a half. So you have this very strange looking alignment here. But if we make that again, I'm going to bring it back to where it was the negative value. What you're doing is you're saying the first line of every single paragraph is going to have a negative pike and a half value. All right, and that means that the normal indent is going to be a pike and a half. So only the first line is going to go out to the left, minus 1.5 or 1p6, if you will. That might seem confusing, but here's how it's going to make sense. If I were to say, instead of having that 1p6, let's say I just made it minus 1 pica, and I'll say okay. And I just did that with the number 2 entry. And as you can see, what it did was what happened is the first line is only indenting or negatively indenting 1 pica. So it's only coming out a pica from the indented value. Now on the same number 2, if I take the indent value and make that 1, now what that does is it means that the indent value is 1 pica and the negative value is 1 pica. So it closes the gap right here between the number and the listed item. All right, and this way we have a more a more normal spacing situation between the number and the listed item. Now, of course, this is not going to work if the font is larger, but if it's smaller, let's say, for example, if I select this paragraph and I make that 8, all right, now you can see that it looks the spacing here looks a lot better, all right, in terms of this large narrow gap if it was at 12 point. So that is basically how you can manipulate the spacing by changing these two values here, your your left indent value and your first line indent value, which is going to be a negative value. Now, I talked about the paragraph returns. If you look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup right here, of course, let's say, for example, I don't like this widow down here where the word box is sitting by itself. And I want to bring bullet character. I want to bring these two words down over here in front of the word box. Well, if I put my cursor in front of the bullet and I just hit a return, you're going to notice that what it did was it created a new paragraph, and that's not what I want. So what I want to do is I want to create what they call a forced line break or a soft return. So by putting your finger on the shift key and hitting the return key, now what you've done is you're able to keep, we can manually move whatever text we want to move within the paragraph and keep the paragraph together without adding another paragraph. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to bring down the bullet to the second line, again, I would not hit the return. If I hit the return key, it's going to give me a new paragraph, and that's not what I want. But if I put my finger on the shift key and I hit the return key, then now I can manually manipulate that paragraph so that I can put in the returns where I want the returns to go without adding another paragraph or creating another paragraph. As you can see, I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. All right, this symbol right here is your hard paragraph or your paragraph return. But this right here, this line treatment right here, this like inverted L, if you will, that's your forced return or we call it in the industry a soft return. All right, so now you can see that you can manipulate not only just the spacing between the listed item and the number or the bullet, but you can also manipulate the contents so that you don't create another paragraph and you can keep all your content together in one paragraph. So that's how we can A, change the spacing between the number and bullet and the listed item, and also B, how we can actually manually move items around, words around within the body of text and not form another paragraph.